I do. I'm happy when you got all 78 firemen can take a test, but if all the guys that win in the test are all white guys and one is a Hispanic, I don't say automatically the test was fixed, biased, bigoted against black people, because I don't know that, Rachel. And those guys did well in that test, and they are victims of this evil affirmative action policy, which says in effect that everybody's covered by the 14th Amendment and the civil rights laws unless you're a white male and your parents and ancestors came from Europe. Then we can discriminate against you. That's what I am against.
Pat, are you happy that we've got a Latino on the Supreme Court for the first time, or we're about to? Does that seem like a positive thing for the country?
I think the Republicans had an outstanding Latino who had outstanding grades and was brilliant and was gutted. Miguel Estrada. I was all for him for the appellate court.
Let me just ask you the question before going to talk about some other Latino who's not a question here. Are you happy for the United States of America, for our prospects as a nation, that will be the best that we can be, that there is a Latino on the Supreme Court for the first time ever, that glass ceiling is broken? Do you see it as a positive thing?
If you say, be the best we can be, we're not being the best we can be with Sonia Sotomayor, and I think you know it.
Pat, I couldn't disagree with you more. I credit you to sticking to your guns. I think you're absolutely wrong about this, and I think that by advocating that the Republican Party try to stir up racial animus among white voters here, you're really dating yourself. You're dating yourself.
I say, I think they ought to do. They ought to defend the legitimate rights of white working class folks who are the victims of discrimination, because that's the right thing to do and because it's the politically right thing to do. It so happens that here that doing the right thing is the right political thing. Standing up for Frank Rickey, we saw the face of a victim of these policies. Rachel, you and your friends admire up there in New York, and you never look at these guys who are working class guys with their own dreams.
Pat,
just like Sonia Sotomayor.
I don't need a lecture from you about whether or not I know what working class.
You certainly do.
Pat, I really don't need a lecture from you about what I think about working class Americans, or what anybody else in New York, including Sonia Sotomayor, who grew up in the Bronx, thinks about working class Americans. A lot of things divide us, Pat. Race is one of those things, but there's a lot of other ways in which we stratify as a country. And for you to privilege race and say that what we really need to make sure we tap politically is white people's racial grievances, you're playing with fire and you're dating yourself. You're living in the 1950s, Pat.
I know maybe I'm dated. I'm dating the 1960s when the Civil Rights Act was passed. Do you think Frank Rickey and those guys were treated justly when they were denied that promotion because they were white?
Pat Buchanan, MSNBC political analyst. I'm very sorry that we're out of time. It's nice to have you back on the show, Pat. Thanks.
I've enjoyed it, and as I always do, Rachel.
We will be right back.